There we go. Hey, welcome to my patio office. I am sitting out here this morning working on a creativity program. Started working and playing with creativity 40 years ago or more. When I moved to Colorado and was shifting careers, I was very fortunate to be called and invited to travel to Austin, Texas, and teach creativity at IBM. I facilitated creativity training days for 3 days, full days. And then over the years, I've continued to evolve. This training is a week from tomorrow. I've done it multiple times. And I've been watching interviews and reading, gathering new information. And so the more I learn, the more things integrate differently. And I see ways to, I don't talk about creativity, I want to engage people in ways of thinking that allow them and enable them to see things differently. And so here I am sitting out here in my patio. Let me show you the rest of my office here. This is my workspace today. And this is what I'm working on. I do mind mapping. And so I look for ideas, and there's tons of things, and literally tons of things that I could do around the whole notion of creativity. And this morning when I woke up, I had like two things pop into my mind immediately, two objectives. And one of them is to help people not only recognize the difference between open and closed thinking, but to engage them in a way so they could experience both, which, by the way, closed thinking is the most normal, conventional, typical business mode of thinking. And the second thing is to play and have fun with the process. As children, we're born hardwired to be happy and playful and enjoy. So there's just bright curiosity that goes with, what's that, how's that work, all the questions, why. And at some point that leaves, so just quickly, some research from NASA did studies on children, and they identified that 98% of like 5-year-olds were creative. And they started measuring how much that drops off. Now, there's different versions of that study. I've seen one that shows that by the time children reach age 7, they're only 10% are creative. Others a little bit more lenient. But the consistent thing is that by the time people get to be adults, they're 2% creative. So the question about whether or not you can teach creativity, it's kind of an unimportant question, because everyone was 5-year-olds at one time in their life. And you had imagination and you had freedom, and you weren't concerned about responsibility and fitting in and maintaining an appearance and, oh my God, what are people going to think? And then the whole critical, judgmental, evaluative mode kicks in, and the moment that happens, creativity is gone. So there's so many ways to play with it. I mean, years ago, I found out that I was new to this world of corporate training, and I was really anxious, and I wanted to do a great job. And so my way of preparing was to over-prepare in meticulous notes. And one day it dawned on me when I was facilitating a training program that I was so focused on following my notes, which is not natural to me. I was so busy focusing on my notes, I didn't notice the people in the room as much as it would be valuable to. And so I wound up signing up for improvisational comedy classes after I saw Bob Wells speak to a group in Boulder, Colorado. And he was the co-founder of Chicken Lips Comedy Theater in Denver at that time. And I always remember Bob saying, here's the definition of improvisational comedy. You walk to the edge of the cliff, jump, and design your wings on the way down. And my first internal reaction to that was like, holy crap. I mean, it was just like terrifying. And my next reaction was, that's exactly what I need. And so lo and behold, of all the people in the room, I was visiting from Kansas, and Bob needed a volunteer at one point, and he said, I need somebody to help me. And he raised his hand and pointed back where I was sitting. He goes, hey, Kansas, come up here. And so I started playing with, I did multiple classes in improvisational comedy, which means be present, listen to the moment, pay attention to yielding. Yes and is always more interesting than yes but. And all of a sudden, the concern about saying and thinking and being prepared for the right thing went away. And then I became much more natural and organic and fluid and flowing, and I think just genuinely authentic in what I did. So I'm going to stop at that. I've been doing this for ages. And even as I've watched more videos, you know, I've watched the interviews with John Cleese and Ian McGilchrist and some of the Simon Sinek interviews and Brene Brown and Adam Grant, and I pick up ideas and notions everywhere, and then I just let them marinate. And when I get ready to put together a program, I begin by what's the output? What's the outcome? What am I moving towards? Because if I don't do that, I could fill it up doing stuff, but it wouldn't necessarily contribute anything. So when I got clear this morning, it's like, I want to help them experience the open mode. Closed mode is automatic. We know how to do that. We don't know how to shut it off so the open mode can work. And the second thing is, I just want them to have play. And playing in the room is an indication that the part of the brain, the part of the right hemisphere that sees things differently, see patterns and plays and possibilities and combine strange things together. When people are playing, that's an indication that they're in that right hemisphere. And that's where creativity, openness, seeing things differently becomes more possible. So I'm sitting here wrapping this up and just suddenly became inspired to see if I could make a recording. And this process is new to me. I have a monitor on my iPod so I can actually see what my camera looks like. So that's it from my outdoor office. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going back to my fun. Ciao.